For everyone joining in. So if this is your first time joining live here with me, my name is Samaria. I'm the founder of Homeschool Gang, and I wanted to get on live really quick because I have this message in regards of socialization, right? As a homeschool coach, the biggest question I get, or the biggest thing I get, well, what about socialization? How does homeschoolers socialize, and so on and so forth? And so it's been on my heart to talk about the cost of socialization, right? And so I'm getting right into it because I don't want to lose my train of thought or anything like that while it's on my heart. So when it comes to socialization, first and foremost, most people use that word incorrectly, right? If you think socialization is about being with your peers, if you think it's about, learning how to connect with peers and make friends and stuff like that, that's not socialization. If you Google the word socialization, and you can test me, I want you to test me on it. Try me and come back and DM me. But if you Google the word socialization, socialization is, in so many words, is basically learning behaviors that's acceptable to society, right? Like the act of learning behaviors that's acceptable to society. That's what socialization is. It's nothing about being with your peers. It's nothing about making friends. It's nothing about like social skills, if anything. It's, again, I'll say this one more last time. The act of learning a behavior that is accepted by society, right? And so when we talk about socialization, many parents think, is, well, how they're going to meet friends, how they're going to do everything else. But I want to talk about the cost of that, because so many people get lost on socialization and you forget about the education, right? So the initial purpose of school is for your child to learn, right? And so if that is the initial, or that should be the main focus for them to get educated, there is really minimum room for socialization, as we should say, quote unquote socialization, right? Of course, they're going to make friends along the way. Of course, I should have put my phone on do not disturb. I got a call. But the initial goal is to learn, to be educated. And what happens is, as a society, I'll say American society because I live in America, a lot of people, the majority, have focused more on the social aspect of school versus the education aspect. And that's where we talk about, prom and dances and sports and all those things, because you associate that only with school, but learning is not the priority. And so when we talk about homeschooling, that is why that's the first question that comes up. Well, what about socialization? There's nothing about their education, nothing really about raising your child or anything like that. It's more so about, well, what about other people? Basically, what about my child being around other people? And I want you to think of it like this. So the analogy that I thought of, because I was actually outside in my garden. So imagine you want to start a garden, right? You're like, you know what? I want to start a garden. I want to grow my own food, this, that, and the third. You have the land, you have the soil, you have the tools, you have seeds, you have water to start your garden, right? Now, you may have to go out and get additional stuff if you want to do extra stuff with it, but you have the necessities, right? Imagine you wanting to start a garden and you're like, well, what about chickens? Chickens don't belong in a garden. So why are we discussing chickens right now when you said you want to grow your own food? And this is what's happening when it comes to homeschooling, right? A lot of parents like, I want to homeschool my child. They're being bullied. I want to pull them out of school. They're not learning what they need to learn. I want to put them out of school and homeschool. But then when we talk about the steps to start it, and it's like, what about socialization? What about it? Like, really, what about it? Because if you're saying that your purpose of homeschooling is to give your child a safe space, if it's to help nurture them or be the best that they can be, what does that have to do with socialization? Two different things. Is there room for both? Absolutely. But why are you hesitating? Going back to the garden analogy, if you're saying you want to grow your own fruits and vegetables and herbs and all that, why are we worried about chickens right now? You haven't even planted the seed. You haven't even tilled your ground, but you're worried about chickens. And what happens is, when you do focus on those chickens and you get them in the gardens, chickens scratch. They scratch the garden. They'll eat your seeds. They'll pick at your seedlings. They'll pick up the things that the little sprouts as they're growing, and they'll destroy your garden. You may have some crops that will grow and they will flourish, but then your garden is a complete mess. And that's what happens, again, when you're focused on socialization versus education and really your child. You're saying, I want my child to be a critical thinker. I want them to be a leader in all these things. But you're focused on the things that really that doesn't align with that and will destroy that. That is why in the schools, there's not a high success rate of people that live a successful life, people that are happy, people that are independent thinkers, people that are confident. Because you're supposed to be having this garden, right? And you're putting this garden in someone else's hands like, hey, y'all sow the seeds, y'all take care of this garden, and I'm going to help you on the side. But then again, you let socialization, all this other stuff come in, peer pressure, right? That's a big one. Bullying, right? That's another big one. And all the things that happen in school, you let that come in, and we're using it as chickens, interfere with your garden. Now you're wondering why your child is dealing with self-esteem issues. You're wondering, well, who is this child? This is not the child that I raised. Why is this child being defiant? It's because you forgot what the initial focus was. And because you forgot what the initial focus was, you didn't really instill that in your child. Guess what? That's not the focus for them. And so when it comes to homeschooling, right? Because I'm saying this because you still have this mindset, right? You carry this mindset over to homeschooling and you're like, yeah, I want to do all these things for my child. My child is so talented. They're so gifted, so bright and smart and all these things. But I'm worried about them making friends. If you put them in the right environment, why are you worried about them making friends? If you're making time for that outside of their academics, why is that a concern? Because the initial focus should be your child, nurturing their mind, nurturing their confidence, their spirit, nurturing them emotionally, all the things. But you're so caught up of what is acceptable by society, aka socialization, that you can't even think about that part. You're so focused on, well, what someone else is going to say. What is someone else going to say about my garden? What if, I planted too many watermelons, but you know what? I love watermelons. But what if I planted too many and my neighbor, they're mad because they like corn and I should have planted corn? That's not how things work. And so when you try to come over to homeschooling with the same mindset, again, you can't even fathom to start because you're so worried about all the other things that you do at school. You came in with the wrong mindset anyways. The focus was this garden. The focus was your child. The focus was helping them to be the best that they can be, right? That was the initial focus. But you somehow lost focus in the name of socialization. And again, if you're just now joining this live, socialization is the act of learned behavior that's acceptable by society. That's not about making friends. That's not. Anybody can make friends. And you can walk outside and go to the grocery store and make friends with somebody. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. You can go to the library and talk to somebody at the library. It's not that hard. You can take your child to the park, depending on their age, and see another parent at the park, and now your child is playing with their child. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. So why is this fear of socialization, this fear of the thing that you really don't want when you think about it? You want your child to literally learn how to act in a way that's acceptable by society versus being themselves. You want them to learn, what society think is cool or what they'll like, where now the child don't even know themselves. Your child, they're not confident in themselves. So they're now trying to be like someone else. Because it was never instilled in them. It was never taught that it's okay to be yourself. And you can say that as a parent, yeah, I'll teach my child that. But guess what? You teaching them something else as well if you're focused on socialization. And so, again, I wanted to share this message really quick because I was in my garden. I don't know, whatever. It just struck a chord in my heart because I'm like, if y'all really knew the things that y'all was saying, you probably wouldn't be saying it. The cost of socialization is your child's dreams. The cost of socialization is your child's confidence. For some people, I'm going to get real. The cost of socialization is your child's life. Yeah, but y'all don't think about that. There's parents like, oh, I will do anything for my child. Would you really? If you really understood this idea of socialization or what socialization is, would you really? Because if that's the case, I wouldn't be seeing complaints about kids following TikTok trends and not wanting to learn or not knowing how to read. If that is the case, we wouldn't worry about these kids out in the streets doing things that they shouldn't be doing, because you're raising your child to be an individual, to be themselves, think for themselves, and focus on, actually furthering their life, furthering their careers and all these other things versus doing what everybody else is doing. That's what socialization is, doing what everybody else is doing, whether it's good or bad. Because if you look at society, there's a lot of behaviors that are horrible, but that are accepted and people think it's cool. That's the cost of socialization. That's the cost. My phone is going crazy right now. I don't know who's calling me from Ohio. It's not about being left out. It's not about missing out on their childhood. It's not about missing out on life. That's not it. It is about being accepted by other people that probably don't even have the same aspirations as your child, or parents that don't have the same goals that you have for your child. That's the cost of socialization. I'm probably going to put this on my YouTube as well, because this is good. This is good. So all these parents, and I get it, and I'm saying this because I hear it all the time. It's either what about socialization or what about curriculums, or I don't know if I can teach my child, but socialization is the number one. And they think, oh, your child is going to be weird because they're not socialized with all the other kids. Well, look at these other kids. Really? You think your child got to be amongst 20, 30 kids in order to be social? Do you really believe that? If so, I feel so sorry for you. I feel so sorry for you. And that's why again, we can go back to the garden analogy. That's why a lot of people, that want to start gardens or whatever, your garden is trash. Your garden got weeds in it. Weeds everywhere. Your garden got pests everywhere. Your crops are dying. Or they're dying before they can actually fully reach its full potential. Because you're worried about everything else except for your garden, which is your child. Your child or your children. The good thing about gardens is you can always start over. You can always start over with a garden. Bad thing with your child is you can try to start over, but it's going to be very, very hard. Very hard. Very hard. No problem, no problem. Probably share this to my YouTube. Most likely, because this came on my heart. So again, when we talk about socialization, and for the people that's here for you, that's here right now, I really hope that you're getting this, because that socialization stuff, you gotta throw it out the window. I already threw it out the window. You have to take that to the trash if you really want to homeschool your child, or you just want your child to be successful in general. Granted, this is a homeschool page. I run Homeschool Gang. But if you really want to homeschool your child, you have to throw that idea of socialization out the window. Because majority of society, when you look at it anyways, they are not happy with life. 95% of society are not happy. They're depressed. They're stressed. They don't know what they're going to do with life, or they're unhappy in the position that they're in that life. You want to raise your child to continue that, to continue that cycle? Or you want your child to be different? You want your child to be confident in themselves, where everybody's going left, they're okay with going right, even though they're the only person that's going right. Because they have a vision for their life. They have morals, values, and ethics that they were raised upon. They are educated. Not just learning to learn or sitting there to pass a grade, but they understand education outside of school. They understand self-improvement, self-development, personal development, all those things. But again, what about socialization? What about socialization? I'm going to tell you something. If you keep thinking about or worrying about socialization, that socialization is going to get you and your child caught up. It happens every single day. Just go to the schools, you'll see it. And I'm not blaming schools. I'm not dissing schools or talking down on schools, but if you go to schools, you'll see it. You'll see children who are acting in ways that are not themselves. You'll see children doing things to fit in. You'll see children that are bullied or treated differently for being themselves. That's what socialization is. You'll see kids picked on because they may think differently, or they may dress differently, or they may speak differently. That's what socialization is. That goes against all the things you say you want for your child. That's what socialization is. And yet, that's what you're worried about. That's what you're scared your child is going to miss out on. The thing is, with you focus on socialization so much, you can't even see life, like the real life outside, and everything that is available, the abundance that we have available outside. You're worried about your child missing out, not realizing that they're missing out on their true potential, and they're missing out on life in the name of socialization. You're worried about socialization, yet you have a child that has this vast imagination, but you or the schools or whoever may dim their light because you don't see it, all in the name of socialization, or the cost of socialization. So I'm sharing this because when I hear someone say, oh, I want to homeschool my child, I want to do all these things, my child is so smart, or maybe my child has a learning difference, and I want to homeschool, but I'm scared or I'm worried. What about socialization? That is exactly what I hear. I hear a parent who is scared to allow their children to be all the things they want their child to be. I hear a parent that is scared of their child being accepted by whoever, whatever, versus being focused on their child becoming the best that they can be at whatever it is. I hear a parent that is scared about doing something that may seem like out of the norm when it's really not out of the norm. And they're sacrificing their child's future, their child's education, their child's brilliance, their child's creativity, all these things in the name of fitting in to a society that half of y'all, not even half, I'll say 80% of y'all probably don't even like. That's what you're doing. That's truly what you're doing. Don't that sound crazy? Now that I said that, I'm laughing, I'm smiling because I'm listening to it. I'm like, when I think about it, that sounds crazy. That sounds crazy. You want your child to do all the things, but you're scared for them to achieve those things. So you're going to minimize that to fit in a society that you don't even like. Y'all, especially look at America now. Y'all don't like half of the stuff that's going on. I won't say half. I'll say 80% of the things that's happening in America today. But you're worried about socialization. You're worried about your child being socialized, being amongst their peers. Let me tell you something. Homeschool parents that understand their child's growth, understands the vision they have for their child, or the vision their child has for themselves, they're not worried about that. Because there is too many people on this earth, in this world, in your city, in your state, for your child to go without. They're not worried about socialization because they have an understanding that there are enough people in this world, there are enough kids that think like your child. There are enough kids out here that are completely comfortable being themselves. They don't have to succumb to peer pressure. And they want their kids to be around that type of child. Because those parents think alike. They're not worried about what everybody else is doing. They worried about what the 2% over here is doing. Because they want to be a part of the 2%. And they plan on being a part of the 2%. They plan on their child being a part of the 2%. They're not worried about what the majority is doing over here because they know the majority ain't doing nothing. The majority, they have these wishes of their lives, but they're not going to do anything to obtain those things, to achieve those things, because they're so focused on socialization. They're so focused on their peers, hanging out with friends. that are not thinking about their future. They might think about it enough to graduate college, or graduate high school, maybe go to college. That's it. But the 2% over here have legit plans that they're working on for their child to be the next president or an astronaut or the best mechanic in the city, in the state, or the chemist out here, or the fashion designer, or the engineer. They already got stuff in place. They already got plans that they're working on. So because they're working on those plans, they can't worry about the 95% and what they're doing to fit into society. 2% over here is focused on changing the society in the ways that they can. So I'm in it like this. The cost of when you think about homeschooling, and for the parents that want to homeschool and you're worried about, well, what about socialization? Think about the cost of socialization. What are you paying in the name for your child to learn how to behave in a way that is accepted by society? And I'm going to put it on YouTube and I'm going to end it like that. So I thank you so much for watching. I am Amy B. I see you. I see your messages. I see it in here. I really wanted to get this off my chest before I forget. This is not scripted. This is something that came to me while I was doing literally yard work. So yeah. And with your stay strong with your family being against you and people questioning you and all that. That's going to happen. That is going to happen. Again, we're talking about being different, doing things differently. We're not following society. Now we're going to, follow the laws, right? We're going to follow the laws, but we're not following the societal norms that are accepted. Because that does not have anything to do with your child. That actually hinders your child. That actually holds them back. That stops them from achieving their dreams. And if you think about the way that society works, that's the whole purpose. Which is why there's not that many people that are truly, truly successful and happy. So with homeschooling, we're changing the game. We're focused on this. And that is what I focus on with homeschooling, the mindset. Yes, we're going to get the education and the academics, of course. We're going to make sure you have the curriculums, of course. Whatever schedule you need to set out, I can help you do that. But the focus on the mindset. And today, the mindset or the focus is socialization. So again, I'm going to leave it with that. I thank you all so much for joining this live. If you haven't started homeschooling and you need help with starting, or you're worried about how to start, you can comment or DM guide. Grab What It Really Takes to Homeschool guide to get started. If you're worried about curriculums, finding the best one, you can go to the link in bio to the curriculum matcher, and you will get matched literally with a curriculum that's aligned with you and your child in like 2 minutes. I'll say less than 5 minutes, instead of doing months and months of research trying to figure it out. So again, the curriculum matcher, link is in bio. But if you want the guide on how to start, or what it really takes to homeschool, where I briefly talked about socialization and all the things, you can DM guide and you'll get the link for that. Other than that, I'll see you all next time. Bye.